This is our project for Capstone 2. It is the Bringing Personalization to the Nextcloud Linux Client project, and it was made by Cynthia Valdes Martin, Alejandro Carballo, which is me, and Geovani Rodriguez. So there was one problem we wanted to address when working with Nextcloud, and it's that the Linux desktop client for Nextcloud contains very little when it comes to personalization and function, even in aesthetics or functionality. It's not just an appearance thing. It's not just a functional thing. It's both. It's also not very clear how to document or develop for anything of Nextcloud. It's very clunky, which keeps I feel, and most of all of us on the group felt, held back the open source nature of the project. If you don't teach people how to work with the code base, you basically want them to fight for themselves. They're going to move on to another project. So our solution to these things was to add aesthetic theming. We wanted to visually change Nextcloud and allow people to visually change Nextcloud for themselves. We wanted to add more Linux functionality. We wanted to really say, hey, this is a Linux product, so we wanted people to really feel it when they use Linux, not just Nextcloud. And we wanted to improve the user experience overall. So for aesthetic theming, we wanted to just change the icons, colors, themes. For Linux functionality, we wanted to integrate Nautilus, which is the actual file system for Linux distributions. For some, most. And we wanted to implement scripts for Linux. And for the better user experience, we wanted a personalized system tray. So we could have tabs where you could do whatever, do links to wherever you wanted to go. We wanted to add keyboard shortcuts to improve the experience of all the different things we're adding, and we wanted to increase the accessibility of information in this actual product. So for aesthetic theming, we really needed to create a window that can be opened from the system tray that you could do all of these changes on. We couldn't just stuff this in the general settings. It needed to be its own unique thing. We wanted to contain themes, icons, and color choices in that window so that you can change them however you might want. And of course, we wanted you to be able to mix and match them. Just having one specific theme set, we could change as much as we wanted, but if it's just one button, we're not really letting the user develop for themselves. What if they wanted to change a specific icon, but change the colors to black instead of the colors that icon would normally work with? So our goals for that were to provide customization to improve those aspects of the application and to provide a variety of themes and images to select from. So for Linux functionality, we actually had to implement other things. We need to put a script to allow for shell integration with Nautilus. To implement a right-click sharing feature, we needed to use scripts, and to implement a right-click sharing feature for easy Nextcloud uploading. So we want to upload it directly to Nextcloud. To copy the file, to move the file, we also needed to have a script for that. And the goals was so that we could have a better way for people to use the Linux client. Right-clicking a file and having the option to directly send it to Nextcloud rather than having to open up the main dialog and then put a folder in there, or even just move the folder to the Nextcloud folder so that the main dialog can do it for you. It's not as easy as just right-clicking it. It's a lot less clunky. We also wanted people to be able to share files, and while it is possible in the main dialog, it is so difficult to figure out, and it's so difficult to actually do that if you wanted to share multiple different files, it would be next to impossible. And for the better user experience, we wanted to make a window for tabs that can be set with personal links. So if you want to set yourself a link to your workplace, you want to set yourself a link to YouTube, you want to set yourself a link to your banking app, anything like that, you could access it straight from Nextcloud. It would help connect with the application. You want to make keyboard shortcuts for each of these links, and you wanted to make keyboard shortcuts for the different windows. We did add a couple of windows, the personal tab window, and we did add the customization window. So to be able to move from the general settings window to the customization window to the personal tabs is very important for us. So we made it much easier with keyboard shortcuts. And our goals for that were to provide easy access to new and old features and settings, and to provide Nextcloud on Linux a unique use so that it can improve the workflow. Having those personal tabs is not really something you would think to have, but it helps so much. So as we were developing it, we spent a lot of time understanding it. As we've said, there's not much documentation about it at all. It's really just a very clunky, hard to understand way to build it, but even running the code was a very difficult thing for us to figure out. We had to learn how they actually wrote their code so that when we started working, we wouldn't be breaking anything, and we would work with the open source code. When we did have some control over it, we started conceptualizing and testing. We started learning how Qt works. We started putting things together and making concepts and stuff. And when we finally made a customization window and we decided we were going to do customization, we all branched out to do different things to help with that. Some of us worked on the shortcuts. Some of us worked on the right-clicking shortcuts like that, the sharing, and some of us worked on the actual personalized tabs. The final product, we were able to actually do aesthetic theming, which is very nice. We were able to change the icons, the colors, and the themes. We were able to add ease of access to the user buttons in the personal tab. We were able to add the keyboard shortcuts for most of the newer windows, and for all of the new windows, and a couple of the older windows to make it easier to navigate those as well. We implemented the Linux Nautilus integration so that you can right-click any file and be able to use Nextcloud without even having to open up the app, which makes it more of an actual computer feature and less of just a client that you independently work with. And we're able to work alongside the code and properly make new UIs and new C++ files and just integrate our code like if we were programming this open source project the entire time, or if we were hired somewhere, we were perfectly able to work with it. And that's it.